Hello friends, this is Worm, and we're going to put a hold on What If Wednesday for today because I wanted to talk about the live stream Bungie did yesterday in regards to some of the new stuff that is coming down the pipes in just a couple weeks on April 11th. Into the Light is dropping. But with that being said, if you missed the live stream, I highly recommend you go watch it, or you go watch somebody who's going to break it down. This video is not a breakdown. This is more offering my thoughts and opinions, although we will be covering some of the basic mechanics. So without further ado, let's get into it. Oh, another thing, I've got my phone with notes right here pulled up that I took during the live stream that I want to talk about. But yeah, let's talk about Onslaught, because that was the main focus of yesterday's live stream. And Onslaught is this new mode, mind you, mode in which it's basically a horde-based game mode, a defensive horde-based game mode. The goal of it is, of course, to defend your ADU, which is your automated defense unit, I think is what it is, or advanced defense unit, one of those two, something like that. But this mode has really got me excited, okay, because the overall goal of the Onslaught game mode is something that we have never seen in Destiny before. This is a true defend the thing game mode. And before we go any further, I know somebody's already thinking, oh well, Warren, we've had other defend stuff game modes, but never to this degree. Like, our sole purpose in this new mode, this Onslaught mode, is to defend the ADU. And we've had other stuff, you know, like in the Insight Terminus, like get inside the plates, you know, and make sure the Cabal or whatever it is don't step in it, or maybe not. What's the other one? Not the Insight Tournament. Anyways, doesn't matter the name of strike. But we've had some where it's like it says defend Ghost while he decrypts this thing, and if he's interrupted, he just stops. You have to go back and fix it. But for this game mode, this is an actual defend this thing or you will lose the entire game. The run's over if this thing takes too much damage, and that's super exciting because it's finally something different inside of Destiny 2. Like, for too long, we've had the same rough pool of objectives, you know, throw the ball at this thing, stand inside this circle, kill these ads, defend the ghost while he decrypts this thing, blah, 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 blah. And it's so boring, and it's awesome to see that we're getting this new and refreshed mode. And it's taking the same shape as many other defensive horde-based game modes, but it's so nice to see in Destiny 2, and like that alone gets me very excited, because not only are we just getting a new mode, but with this new mode we're gonna have a host of new builds that beforehand were honestly just never really that viable because they're more defensive style. You know, one of the things that pops in my mind is Edge of Action with Helm of Saint 14. Like, that's an awesome build, but we've never had anything that's defensive enough to, you know, effectively utilize that build. And I think that in this game mode, those defensive, you know, playing a support warlock is going to be absolutely fantastic, and I'm super excited to see all that. But yeah, sorry, getting off track here. That's the goal of it. Of course, the subject matter, or what you're going to be defending, you're going to be fighting off hordes of enemies, and they're going to be coming, I think they said 50 waves in total, and the difficulty is going to be increasing every wave. One of the things that I want to know about this increasing difficulty, and I think I already know the answer, but is it going to be a situation where every 10 levels, all that's going to change really is the enemy's power level? Because when Bungie talks about increasing difficulty, that's typically what they mean. They don't mean increasing the density. They don't mean increasing, you know, the number of, you know, high health targets, maybe to a degree, but it's typically just higher health or higher power levels, which means that everything is just more tanky. And really, I mean, I'm okay with this to a degree, but I also really hope that we're getting more, you know, dynamic stuff in between. Because, like, nothing, in my opinion, would kill this game mode faster than Wave 1 is a bunch of Thralls and Shanks. Or, I'm sorry, Dregs and Shanks. Then Wave 11, when the difficulty is supposed to step it up, is just a bunch of Shanks and Dregs again, but now they just have more health. I think that would be a pretty quick killer if basically every 10 rounds is the exact same, but the only thing that changes is the fact that you're going to have higher health enemies. And of course, from the live stream, we saw that there are Hive and there are Fallen, which is going to kind of throw a little mix in there. But I'm really hoping that, you know, every single wave is going to present a newer and unique challenge. You know, that first wave being all Thrall, you know, a Sunshot could clear literally the entire wave. in one shot, basically. That would be cool. But then as you get up to round 11, now instead of just, you know, a bunch of Thrall, it's going to have Thrall, it's going to have Knights, it's going to have, you know, Vandals, and now their power level has also been increased on top of that. I think that that would be one of the best ways that Bungie could actually do that. We also know that champions are going to be coming in this mode, which I think is pretty exciting. I think that champions, whether you love them or hate them, they do add a certain level of challenge. One of the things I am worried about is, will this potentially restrict our loadouts to using something like hand cannons for unstoppables, or something like you know, overload for auto rifles? Like, will it interfere with that? I kind of hope not. And I'm thinking that hopefully Bungie will keep the champions either in the legend or the master version, whatever it's going to be called, because there is going to be 2 different modes. But I'm hoping that it will stay over there. That way in the casual mode, you can use whatever you want. You know, if you want to use a stasis build, or if you want to use a strand build, even better, and you want to use whatever loadout you want to use, you don't have to worry about unstoppable overload champions, because nothing in strand kit can stun overload champions. But I don't know. Of course, within the mode, as with most defensive style game modes, there is an inactivity currency called scrap. Scrap is obtained by basically just doing lots of stuff, killing enemies, stuff like that. And I think that, you know, obviously it's pretty standard. Don't really have any thoughts on this, but use it to upgrade certain you know, certain traps, turrets, decoys, stuff like that. And I think that this is such a cool idea. The one thing I really would have liked to see, and I know it's too late at this point, but whenever you're placing these turrets and traps and stuff like that, they are in predetermined locations. Like, you can't just put a turret like anywhere you want. Like, you have to set them up in certain places. And I don't know why Bungie can't allow us to put them wherever we want. We've never had anything like that in Destiny 2 outside of maybe a wall or a rift, but so it doesn't really surprise me. But I would love to see that happen maybe in the future. We have the ability to place turrets in certain locations that we want them to, but the ability to upgrade turrets and get stuff like that is super cool. I do want to see how much health these turrets and the decoys and stuff have, because here's the thing, like, scrap is, it seems like it's, I don't want to say it's hard to come by, but it takes a little bit to build it up based on what we saw in the actual gameplay. And if you're building it up slowly, like, I would hate to see you invest what they say, like 12,000 scrap into a turret to get it max level, just for it to get smashed in, like, you know, 10 seconds, you know, of being on the field. And I don't think it would be like that. Like, it just doesn't make sense that Bungie would have it in such low health. But that is a concern that I have, because nothing, like I said, nothing feels worse than working your butt off for, you know, 10-20 rounds to get enough to rank something up to max level, only for it to get destroyed in a matter of like 2 seconds. But yeah, sorry, let me unlock my phone here so I can see more of the stuff on this. Of course, the maps is taking place on, we saw only one map, and they did confirm that there were other maps. Based on what we saw, it was Midtown, which is a PvP map. I'm okay with this. I know a lot of people have been like kind of complaining about, oh, like they wanted to see new areas. I'm okay with this taking place on Midtown. Like, a horde mode is not a game mode I get into to go explore and look at all the cool scenery and stuff like that. You know, like, I'm there to defend the thing. So I'm okay that it takes place on this on maps I would assume that take place in the city. So maybe we see it happen on Bannerfall. What's another map that takes place inside the city? I can't think of any off the top of my head. Midtown, Bannerfall. But yeah, I think that maybe we're gonna see probably at most 3 maps. I don't think that they're gonna come out and say, oh, we've got 7 different locations. Like, it's probably gonna be 3 in total. Like, we're gonna have Midtown, probably gonna have Bannerfall, maybe something like Vostok, and that's gonna be it. So I don't want people to get their excitement up and say, oh, like, there's gonna be like 10 different maps that we can do this on. It would be great if they did. I'm not gonna lie, like, that'd be fantastic. But the reality is that that's probably just not gonna happen. So, you know, I want to make sure everybody's expectations are kind of curbed there. But yeah, of course, you know, in terms of getting scrap, like I said, it comes from killing enemies. It comes from, you know, completing objectives, stuff like that. And speaking of objectives, one of the best things that I think they could have done with this mode, they actually did do, and that is adding side objectives. So instead of sitting in one area for 50 rounds, however long that's going to take, like an hour, hour and a half, I don't know how long, But instead of just sitting there for 50 rounds in the same area and killing stuff over and over, like there's stuff going on around you. You know, there are augments is what they're called, and augments will take place out of that area where the ADU is. So, you know, you got to go off and kill this target or go off and destroy these little pyramid shards, blah, blah, blah. And they give you certain buffs. They give you like heavy ammo. They might give you extra scrap. Like, I'm not really sure all the effects that they have, but they can do all this extra stuff, but it helps break up that monotony of, oh, you know, we're sitting here defending this, and now it's kind of boring because I've been here for 10, 15 rounds, and nothing really has changed except for more difficult and more, in terms of numbers, enemies are coming at us. So I think that's awesome. They're also adding, like, you know, this kind of mid-round, I don't know what you'd call it, but like in the middle of the 10 rounds that you're on, you will go inside the pyramid ship and do a different objective in there. And again, I think that's just nice because it's going to help break up that monotony, though. You know, instead of just, again, sitting there forever, you're gonna be able to go inside the pyramid ship. And, you know, one of the things we saw was running a like spark from what's that game, Rift, into a thing, you know. And then on the 10th or whatever boss round, the 10th round or whatever, there is an actual boss fight, you know, where you go in and you kill the boss. And it's cool because there's different mechanics for the boss. You know, there's one where you dunk a ball and it will, you know, ignite that that boss and cause them to take a big chunk of damage. I think that's fine and dandy. Speaking of dunking the ball, like, you know, we talked a little bit about one of the draws to me of this new game mode is an actual defense style thing. We do have some returning mechanics. Of course, dunking the ball, that's a returning mechanic's been in Destiny before. Another one, you can actually pick up batteries and throw them at your ADU, which is, again, is that central defense thing that you're trying to protect, and you will give it health back. This, like, I know that, you know, in the past we've talked about this being a boring thing, you know, oh, all you're doing is throwing the balls, but I think that's in this instant, it's perfectly acceptable because there's already a lot going on based on what, like, the gameplay we saw in the live stream. There's a lot of enemies, there's a lot of high health enemies, there's a lot going on, and so having to maybe pick up and go deposit isn't really the best idea. Being able to scoop it up and throw it at that ADU to give it health, I think, is a perfect option that they could have gone with. So I'm really glad to see that. Again, I know that in the past I've complained about, oh, it's boring just throwing the ball. You know, the Black Armory video we did, we said it was boring to throw the ball, but in this instance where you're actually defending stuff and you've got constant ad flow coming at you, I think that it is more acceptable as a little side objective. But yeah, of course, some other like bonus features for throwing the little batteries. If you throw a battery at the ADU while it's at full health, you get 3 times the scrap, which, again, I think this is great because this gives players incentive to actually stay and defend the ADU. Like, never mind the fact that you'll lose if the ADU dies, but you have an even greater incentive to, hey, like, go get those things and throw them. If you kill an enemy way off in the distance, you know, it's like, oh, and I'm so close, and if I get, like, you know, 20 more kills, yeah, I'll have enough to get this turret upgraded to max. But if I go grab that ball and throw it at the ADU right now and get it back to full health, and it's at full health, and I'll get that turret immediately. You know, I think that's a good idea because, again, it's giving us lots of side objectives to do, and I think that is so pivotal. That's been one of my biggest complaints. You know, in other games like Titanfall 2, for example, there was a horde mode in that game. The only thing you had to do was defend the middle thing. It was cool, it was fun and all, but that's not really like super epic, especially as you get in the later rounds. Like, okay, this is boring. But with Destiny 2, they're adding all these side objectives, and hopefully we'll see a decent number of them, you know, to the point that we are feeling like there's constantly something to be doing. Like, yes, I've cleared ads for 3 rounds, but now I want to go off and do this side objective over here. So I'm going to go do that instead. But yeah, that's kind of it for Onslaught. I can't think of anything else. It looks like a super exciting game mode. I'm really ready to try it out. Like I said, especially with, you know, some of the build potential that we have. I'm really looking forward to that. But yeah, other than Onslaught, we got a couple things that I also want to talk about. Number one, Shaxx is going to be the vendor for this whole thing that we've got going on, which I think is pretty cool. We also saw some of the new weapons that are coming. Midnight Ku's coming back. Hung Jury, which Hung Jury is interestingly enough is a Nightfall weapon, and it looks like it's coming back for this mode. I'm not sure what's going to change about it. I'm not sure if it's maybe going to be removed from Zavala, or if it's just going to have updated roles. I don't really know about all that, but we did see that we are getting some new weapons. And of course, next Tuesday, we're going to get the full, maybe not the full scope, we're going to get a larger scope on what's coming back and what the rewards and stuff are going to be. Another thing that I wanted to point out about Lord Shags is, of course, he is basically the lore behind the whole thing. Is he's going to open up his private arsenal to us, and his private arsenal is full of weapons that were problematic in the Crucible. Now, of course, this is why we saw Recluse back then. This is why we saw Hammerhead, because Recluse and Hammerhead were both notorious PvP weapons, especially Recluse. But other notorious PvP weapons, we had, Luna's Howl, Not Forgotten. So could we be getting those back? I don't know, maybe. Mountaintop, I don't really think we're gonna get Mountaintop back, but I think Mountaintop is like, I mean, we could put it out there as a possibility. Off the top of my head though, a specific exotic that we know we're supposed to be getting in Destiny 2 is Red Death. And I thought they said it was coming with the final shape, but maybe they just said it was coming in the future. But the Red Death has a lore behind it that it is a guardian killer. Like, the lore behind Red Death in Destiny 1 was something along the lines of you're supposed to like destroy it because it's not a good thing. Like, it's got a certain darkness to it, or it's a guardian slayer killer, something like that. Could we potentially see that's coming, Red Death coming back as a weapon into the light instead of the final shape? I don't know. I think that it's there, especially, like I said, when talking about problematic Crucible weapons, because even though Red Death never really was like a meta in the Crucible, it in its lore is a problematic weapon. So maybe, I don't know, maybe we could see Lord Shags bring that to us. But yeah, that's kind of it. I didn't mean to talk for this long about it, but I'm super excited for this game mode. I'm super excited for all the stuff that's going to be coming down the pipes with it, and I really can't wait to see more. Of course, though, I want to hear your thoughts on Onslaught. I know a lot of people have been talking and saying that this live stream was really weak, and that, like they could have chalked everything up into one live stream. Like, number one, to the people that say everything could have been chalked up in one live stream, we haven't even seen the other two, so we don't even know what else is coming. But in terms of what they showed off, I think they showed us just a ton of stuff. Like, we still have 2 more live streams that's going to have lots of juicy information, I hope, in regards to Into the Lights. But yeah, I think it was a great live stream. I think that we got a lot of stuff, and I'm very, very excited for Onslaught. But with that being said, like I said, tell me your thoughts about it in the comments, stuff like that. Of course, if you liked today's video, do me a favor, hit the like button. It really helps the channel out a lot. Subscribe for more daily Destiny 2 content, and do me a favor, watch the videos you see here on the end screen, because for whatever reason, YouTube thinks you'll like them. Guys, I'll see you all next time. Bye for now.